2/3 of the season in, episodes 5 through 8. Oxygen, Extremis, Pyramid at the End of the World, Lie of the Land. And now we're going to review these particular episodes. And the one thing I'm definitely relieved about is that 3 of these 4 episodes is a 3-parter, which was a nice little change of pace. Because one of the things I loved about season 9 was the fact that it was dominantly 2-parters, had a great time with that. So I was very happy to see that we got this. And the best part is about those 3 episodes is that they felt different on their own terms, that they felt self-contained. Let us jump into episode 5, Oxygen, written by Jamie Matheson, who is, am I right saying that right? Matheson? I'm going to say Matheson because it actually sounds kind of cool. He is definitely one of the best new writers I've seen on the show so far, and you can't deny it. All the episodes he's written from season 8 onwards have been the definitive episodes of the season. This is definitely no exception. I was definitely not surprised. But the thing that did surprise me about this episode was that what you think is going to be a typical confined at a space station scenario with creatures coming around to kill you actually takes a spin on it in certain respects. Yes, we do have walking corpses in spacesuits, but the real thing that's threatening to kill you is the very thing that's keeping you alive. And that is the thing that kept me on edge on this episode. Particularly the way they set it up, the notion that that Bill's suit is faulty, which means it could go out at any time. And they play up that so many ways. Even though I know Bill's going to be in the whole season, it still scared me when she died. There's a lot of things, and that was the thing that made Oxygen a brilliant episode, was the fact that there were genuine stakes. And not only were there stakes, there were consequences to this episode. It's just very seldomly do consequences stick in Doctor Who, and this one stuck for, well, I mean, in the long run it didn't stick, but the point is it still stuck to the point where it actually affected episodes later on, and that's where this one really worked out. Of course, I speak of the Doctor going blind. And I even love the bait and switch it does, where it makes you think that this can be remedied. They even say it can be fixed. And you think it's fixed, but till that last brilliant final scene where it's revealed, nope, Doctor's still blind. Oh man, how's this going to affect everything that goes afterwards? And the best part is, going into Extremis, it actually still does. The Doctor's still adjusting to his blindness. And unfortunately, the one thing he's got to do is read something. Now, Extremis is a particularly, it's a big episode, but at the same time, I like that it was a very collected episode. It's one that actually moves at a very leisurely pace, but it never holds back on its sense of dread. It comments on the fragility of the human psyche, the idea of depression, suicide as plague, the idea of one little thing pushing you over the cliff, and it ends up affecting everyone around you. Just the idea that there's something you could read that could affect you so deeply that it would make you commit mass suicide. That's Jonestown material right there. I like how it starts very subtly, where it's just 1 or 2, and then it goes even bigger where you get to the Hadron Collider, and anyone who knows that knows how bad that could get if things go south over there. And this episode addressed it. It was pretty damn chilling, and in a grand scheme, it's really kind of cool, the notion that the Doctor, for all intents and purposes, loses in that until you find out it's a computer simulation, and the Doctor still finds one last way at the last moment to win. And even cooler is that it's a computer simulation of the Doctor that's just so good for the sake of accumulating intel. I guess the best thing to say about how good these episodes are segueing into each other is that there's a nice sense of cohesion throughout this entire season. Even in the episodes that are disparate and self-contained, they still feed into the episodes later on. Pyramid at the End of the World sees what they can do on an even grander scale, and even that is still chilling. I loved how it addressed the notion that positive emotion can enslave us just as harshly as stuff like fear. The other reason I say Pyramid at the End of the World works as a story in itself, in its own regard, is that I'm a big fan of stuff like that's addressed in movies like Magnolia, the idea that subtle events, subtle happenstances can be tantamount to something bigger, but we don't recognize it until we get to that point. I loved how it was a misdirect where you think that it's all about world politics at the present time, and what Doctor Who does best, sometimes it's at its best when it goes satirical, and we think that this is what it's talking about. We think it's going to be talking about the state of the world as it is, our international relations going to pot because of, well, Tangerine nightmares. This episode addressed it, and actually in a funny fashion, so does Lie of the Land, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. But they utilize that as a misdirect to show us what the actual problem is. It's not us gunning to kill each other. It's just the times where we're just being people living. And unfortunately, it's neglect that does the job. It's a broken pair of glasses and a ill-timed hangover that end up potentially destroying the world. And it's little things like that that wind up nearly killing the Doctor. Also, actually, the other major thing that pushes it over the cliff, or that makes this whole thing go to hell, is the fact that the Doctor told a lie. It's one of the times the Doctor lies, and it actually has a negative effect. Had he told Bill sooner, things probably would have been different. Pyramid at the End of the World is a big story, but it's all about little things, and that's definitely why that one is an excellent addition. Now going into, definitely I would say the weakest of these 4 episodes, but not a bad episode by no means. Actually, yeah, it is not a bad episode. Is Lie the Land. It has a solid setup. Totally does a really good job selling the totalitarian, I guess would be the word, totalitarian dystopia. I was definitely getting some echoes of 1984, definitely getting some serious V for Vendetta vibes. I mean, it's stuff we've seen, but nevertheless, still very compellingly portrayed. You still definitely got that feeling of paranoia that, like, anytime you see someone getting pulled off the street, you could be next. And Toby Whithouse has sole credit on this one. He's definitely one of my favorite writers, has been one of my favorite writers ever since School Reunion. He's been consistently great all throughout. I mean, he's had a couple of, wouldn't say bad, just weaker episodes compared to others, but this one is definitely not up there with School Reunion or I Love Vampires of Venice, or even The God Complex, which is a very complicated episode, which I love. But this is definitely, it's one of his more pedestrian efforts, but nevertheless a very strong effort. Actually, I'd say the reason why this one falls apart, and I'll go to the setup first. The setup where you think that the Doctor has turned on us, it's a great scene. It's chilling, and Capaldi knocks it out of the park. I seriously thought he turned us. He finally said, "I'm done with you." I genuinely bought it. There was a part of me that was very disappointed that they didn't continue on with that, because it would have been interesting to see how it would have resolved, because you knew it was going to resolve by the end of it, but it would have been interesting to see if they'd gone further with that. It was almost as if they wrote themselves into a corner and didn't know how to get out of it. The misdirect was still really well done, and Pearl Mackie's acting throughout Bill's reactions to everything are very human and very, very real. Lie of the Land kind of really does veer into pedestrian territory by the end of it. I mean, still very compelling, but the resolution is kind of stuff we kind of really see. Heck, we've seen this in the first season with The Long Game, practically. The resolution is practically out of The Long Game. The way it goes about it with Bill having imaginary conversations with her late mother, you know, I think I'm able to forgive it because of the nature of the resolution, because it lends so much to Bill's character. I'm able to forgive it. So that's why I didn't feel really as let down by this. I just say we've seen resolutions like this before, but it's still no less compelling. It's still a very solid stretch of a 3-parter. Now, I'd say the real star of all 4 of these episodes has been Pearl Mackie. And Bill is a great character. She's very strongly written. I love all the times where you see Bill just in her home life, because I think she's probably one of the most relatable companions I've seen since Donna. And I think that's one of the reasons I think she may very well be becoming one of my new favorites in the pantheon of companions. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with writing, but the major reason this season is working, and the reason why Bill works, is Pearl Mackie's performance is so, I want to say real is probably the best way to describe her. She reacts the way I would react. I've met people like Bill, and all the people who I've met who are like Bill, I love these people, so I will say that flat out. She's probably one of the most human companions I've seen in a long time, and she's the star of this season. And it's sad. I'm sad to say, because it is Capaldi's last full season, but fortunately Capaldi is no slouch job either. And as an extra bonus, I'm still loving Nardole. I'm enjoying every minute. I'm cherishing every minute I've got with Nardole. And as an extra bonus, with Lie of the Land, we're getting more Missy. I cannot get enough Missy. And I'm also going to be sad because Michelle Gomez just revealed she's hanging up her madness at the end of this season, and I'm very sad. So overall, I'm going to give this episodes 5 through 8 4 servings out of 5. Do you agree? Do you disagree? That's what the comment section is for. Keep it here on Narcotic Casserole. We're going to have more content coming up soon. Actually, a new episode of Cinema Schlock will be coming up sometime in the next couple of weeks. Even keep it here for a new episode of Close Encounters, Close Examinations, which is coming up pretty soon. Like, share, subscribe, especially share, and definitely subscribe. So with that, see you when I see you. Really, I don't know when I'm going to see you, your viewers. But I'd like to see you. I'm drawing this out. Cut!